Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
Welcome back to One Stories, the podcast. I'm Wendy Babcock here with the fabulous Sara Deacon. Welcome, Sara.
Thanks, Wendy. It's great to be here.
Felt like a game show host there with the fabulous Sara Deacon. So, Sara Deacon, let's tell everyone about who you are and what you do. I'll have you introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I'm Sara Deacon, also known as the 360-degree MC. You may recognize me from the When Stories stage, MCing, facilitating, event operating, and working with Wendy on a lot of different projects as the MC, but also a lot behind the scenes as well. So I'm also the director of publishing for When Stories, and I have my own business called Radiac Media, which is all about connection. I work with small business owners, specifically women entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers who want to create those deeper connections with their clients. And we do that through live events. We do that through publishing books because speakers need those assets to leave behind in those rooms where they can't, where it gets awkward if you hang out too long. And I do a little bit of consulting as well. So event consulting as well as the event management, event hosting, emceeing, and then the book publishing. We do something called a spotlight book that is all about highlighting how you got to be doing what you're doing and that story around that. It's not exactly like When Stories, but it's that asset. It's that connection building tool that speakers and entrepreneurs need in this world where we're inundated with, is that real? Is that AI? Like what is that? Like, is that another AI story? Like, what's going on? We need that heart and soul. We need that true human connection. When you're face to face in a room with somebody, you know who they are. It builds trust and it accelerates the sales process, essentially. Not that it's about sales, but it accelerates the sales process because you're connecting on a deeper level.
Yeah, well, of course, I agree. I want to talk a little bit more about the Radiac Media and just going a little bit deeper into what that means, the publishing side of it with books, because you help people, I think, in a little bit different way than you would think. People hear publishing, they think book coach. They think, oh,
Mhm.
Sarah's going to help me write my entire book, start to
No.
finish, coach me on the story. But this is where I think, because I think been a gap in the market. I think you're filling that gap right now. And so I want people to understand exactly what it is you do. So where do you meet them at, and what's the next step that you take them through?
Yeah, generally I meet them when they've either got a pile of stuff written and they need it put together into a book, or they have a manuscript, they've worked with a book coach, they had somebody like you who helps them bring out their story and everything like that. And it's raring to go and it's sitting in a Google Drive and they don't know what to do with it because the whole tech process of formatting, editing, uploading is extremely daunting. And this is what I learned when I published my first book, Welcome to the Stage, the 360-degree approach to hosting events like a pro. When I was working on that book, I can't tell you how many hours I spent, to put it um, neutrally, in frustration with the formatting, fighting with Microsoft Word, and trying to get this thing looking professional. And it does. You've read the book. It looks
Yep.
good. I
Looks
did
great.
it. And it wasn't easy. So you self-publishing is fairly easy. Like you can have AI help you. You can do things. You can do a lot of things yourself, but you have to learn it. You have to learn
Yeah.
how. And most of us are way too busy, especially entrepreneurs, speakers, people who need this asset like yesterday. They're
Mm-hmm.
too busy to like have to invest all of that time into learning something that they're only going to use that one time. So,
Yeah.
so that's where I come in and I help get from manuscript, from words on the page, words in a Google Doc, words in a word processor to, okay, here's a book and here's your expertise and here's this asset that you can hand off to somebody. And yeah, it's self-published. It's still self-published with assistance. But it looks great. It looks like a real professionally produced item in someone's hand.
Yeah, I wish I had Sarah Deacon in my life when I did my first book, because exactly what you're talking about is what I went through as well. And
Hmm.
this was before AI to walk me through. But even with AI, it's you still have to do the things, figure it out, look at the page on your screen and try and format it. So like even self-publishing through KDP with Amazon, downloading those templates, the templates don't always work perfectly. And then if something
No,
gets
they're
askew, it
a
it can be
massive
a
confusion.
yeah, it could be a nightmare to fix. And like I wanted to throw my laptop through the window. I can't tell you how many times
Hmm.
trying to format that book. And then the next step, of course, or actually before that, well, either way, but to edit it. So like I
Yeah.
hired somebody on Fiverr to edit, which please don't read that book because you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, and AI is great at catching like the little like,
sure.
oh, punctuation or, you
Yeah.
know, little things that maybe your eyes going cross-eyed reading it 1,000 times like miss. AI is
Yeah.
great for that, and I use AI tools, but you got to check AI because
Yes.
when AI is like I comb through every suggestion that AI makes before, like I don't let just AI run loose on a manuscript. No, 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 no.
Never. No.
No, no. I check every suggestion that AI makes against what I know of the author, of what I know of the context, of what I know of writing, grammar, expression, creativity, and art, to make it again, so it still sounds like the author, everything like that. Most of
Yeah.
the edits I do are very minimal, unless I'm working with a full content edit where we're basically restructuring the whole book, which I have done and I will do,
Yeah.
but that's a premium.
Right. And there's more to the book process too. Like we talked about KDP, but then there's Ingram Spark, which is I think
Hmm.
it's a more premier service. The books,
Right,
like the physical copy of the book is so much more quality than Amazon's,
right.
but good luck uploading a manuscript to that place. It's like
Yeah.
it is
I cracked the code there though, so
and that's what I
we're
want to
good.
talk about because you have like the formatting process, the editing, the uploading to those places because Ingram Spark has a better quality book. It also allows you to do there's other function Ingram Sparks allows you to do with like the
Yeah.
pre-sale of the paperback. I mean, there's certain things you can do that Amazon doesn't do.
Right. And there's dedicated purchasing links. Like if you want to offer a
Yes.
bulk discount, you can have a dedicated purchasing link for the conference you're attending, and have it give a good deal, something like
Yeah.
set the price how you want it. So your conference host that's bringing you in to speak, like they don't have to buy 600 copies at the list price. You can give them, oh, well, you can get half off. And again, you're still making money on the books,
Yeah.
and you're getting your books in the hands of every single person at that conference if that conference host wants to do it. So again,
Yeah.
it's using that book as that asset. And I do give tips and tricks for using your book and how to do it. Because I'm not in the business of marketing a book either. That's a lot of times what people want is they want the marketing, they want the bestseller. And I'm like, I don't care about that because the people I work with, they're not writing books to be authors. They're writing books to add author to their repertoire of,
Yeah.
their CV or whatever. Like they're adding the book as a, hey, here, I know what I know, trust me, and you can read it for yourself,
Yeah.
as that credibility, that authority in their field. So that's who I work with. It's not people who are out to sell a million copies of a book. That's not what it's
Right.
about. It's about leveraging your content to work for you in rooms you're not in. And
Yeah.
again, it comes back to that connection. It connects the reader with your voice, with your story, with what you do, what you know, what you bring to the table, and how valuable it really is to work with somebody like you, even if they never hire you.
Right. Yeah, that's so important. I think people forget that. They want the number one bestseller, but honestly, like nowadays I think people kind of know it's smoke and mirrors getting that number one bestseller. Yeah, it doesn't always pan out, but it's
It
it's a
can
matter
be.
of it can be. So I
Yeah,
mean,
but people know how to game the system. Like you can ask
right.
AI to game the system for you and it'll tell you, and
Yeah.
half of it'll work.
Right. And that's just it. So that's like, to me, that's kind of like a moment in time, a snapshot, where
Mhm.
what you're creating is more long-term
Yeah,
credibility through the book and how you're
absolutely.
going to use the book afterwards. Saying it's number one bestseller, great. Yeah, that might raise some eyebrows, like, oh, that's impressive. But then putting your hand into 300 people's, or putting your book in the hands of 300 people in an audience, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
That shows people your authority and your credibility, and that's what you bring to the table for people.
Hmm.
you know so let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about emceeing. Now obviously I know firsthand what it's like to go from not having an MC to having an MC, because that is a game changer. So for you, stepping into the emceeing role, what would you say to event planners who were me, doing everything themselves, doing the introductions, the planning, speaking on the stage, running back and forth when there's tech problems, even if they have someone running their
Yeah.
tech,
Yeah.
but the host is doing all the things, like what would you say to them?
I would say you are brilliant and what you are building is incredible. And I see how excited you are. And I know that you want it to blow people's minds and melt people's faces off. And you can do it. You can build it and you can do it all and you can do it all on your own. You can. But why? Why would you want to?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot to hold. And the MC role itself is a space holding role that it adds something almost indescribable to the event.
Yeah.
It allows you to relax. It allows you to focus on your brilliance. Your brilliance is not the tech space. Your brilliance is not the room holding. And maybe it is to at some level as a speaker, as a host, as whatever it is you're doing building. At a certain level it is. And you want to be you want to be Mickey Mouse, right? You want to be the star of the show. Mickey Mouse is not running his tech.
Right.
Mickey Mouse shows up at the end to thunderous applause because he is the show, like he's the thing. And that's who you want to be in your business, in your event. You want to be the one that people are like sitting on the edge of their seats waiting to see. They don't want to see you running around in the background talking to the caterers and like
Yeah.
like pacing because your speaker's late and you don't know what to do. Like they don't want to see that. Like it's your gosh, your book says it, right?
Yeah.
Proximity and authority. Like if they see
Yeah.
you running around with the tech team and trying to figure out all the problems in the room and trying to run everything and press the button and move the slides and set up the thing and like that lowers your authority
Yeah.
in the
And
space.
yeah, and to that point, like having somebody introduce you, and on the stage, that brings credibility to the host as well. So having somebody up there like running things, making things are on time, and then, oh yeah, and welcome, the creator of this amazing event, and then they say your name and bring you up on stage, that creates that proximity, and it creates the authority and credibility that you're looking for by hosting
Yeah.
your own event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, start small. You have to do it all yourself. Great. You can. You're brilliant. That's what I
Yeah.
say to, like you can. You can do it and you can do it in a way that you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And that's what my book is about. It's
Yeah.
about being discerning with what activities in your event you take on
Yeah.
as the host. And here's all the things that are involved. And I'm sure there's more involved in running events than even I put in my book because I haven't personally hosted a large event like you have. So I come in later and I don't want to do the event hosting. That's not my jam. But I see the work that's involved and I see the stress and I see the mental load
Mhm.
that
A
is
lot.
carried with hosts and I come alongside and I share the load, right? I
Yeah.
walk with you
Yeah.
through it. And that's the 360-degree part where I'm there from the beginning, from the planning stages, through all the prep, through all the, uh, agenda,
Yeah. All
agenda
of it.
planning and yeah, all of the things. So, and carrying some of that weight.
Yeah, and it makes it, as a host, obviously it takes part of that off of your shoulders so that you can actually sit at your event.
Mm.
Like the last couple
And
times we did,
connect
and
comes
actually
back to
connect.
connection.
Yeah, I've even jumped in and done networking. We did speed
Hmm.
networking and the this or that at my current event. Like I got to participate. I wasn't on stage doing the things, and I think that's valuable for my attendees that they get to be in proximity to me, but
Right.
also see me still as the authority as I'm being introduced. So I get to play both sides of that
Yeah.
proximity coin at my
They
event.
have access to you, but they're
Right.
not privy to behind the curtain with you.
Right. And that makes a big difference. But if I didn't have someone on the stage, have Sarah on the stage doing that for me, like then that's my role. And so then
Mhm.
I'm introducing myself essentially, running the whole show, and I lose credibility by doing that. I lose that authority a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's pivot again and let's talk about the consulting portion of your business. The stage, the page, and now the
The
consulting section.
picture.
The
Yeah.
picture. Yes.
So in my When story, I ended with the question, what picture are you living in? And be honest, is it really the one you would choose? Is it your choice? And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, and especially women in business for themselves, we do a lot of, well, just tell me what to do, I'll do it. And it's hard for us to sit in that self-trust of learning what we actually want from our business, from our life, from all the things. The main the main piece of the consulting, the coaching, the picture pillar of the business is the passion test, which you have gone through and I've taken some of your groups through as well. And that it's not my own thing. I'm certified passion test facilitator. I'm recertifying in November, so that's coming as well. And it's a powerful tool to help people really get clear. But the other piece of it, and that's an intensive. The other piece of the consulting and coaching is I know a lot about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a multi-passionate creative person. I've done a million and one things in my life and business. And when I learn something, I go deep and I learn it and I do it well. And then I move on and I've learned something else.
Yeah.
So I have this vast, like, cavern of knowledge that before you invest $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in a marketing coach you don't actually need yet, or a branding rebrand that you're not ready for, before you invest 5 figures or whatever into something that sounds awesome because the person providing it is a really great salesperson,
Yeah.
before you invest in that, then, well, why don't we have a conversation and we sit down and we'll talk for an hour and we'll kind of see, well, what's the main problem in your business right now? And where are you going? Where are you going tomorrow? And then where are you going in 3 months? Where are you going in 6 months? Where are you going in a year? Like a lot of the larger coaching packages, they're a year-long investment of time, a huge amount of money. And if that's not what you're ready for, 3, 6, 8 months into that program, you're going to be like, oh man, I wasted so much time and money. And then you figure out what you really you really want eventually. Sometimes it takes us 2 or 3 tries, but my goal with the picture is to get in before then and have that conversation and just like, well, really, I've learned so much about business. I know a lot about a lot of stuff. Let's talk and see what you actually need. And if we can solve a problem or two on that call, we will, and that'll be it. It's not a long-term engagement. I don't have time for that. I move on to the next thing. Like,
Right.
if you want to stay with me for longer, great. We'll set it up. But it's really designed to be more of that, like, let's shine the spotlight on
Mhm.
what's going on right now. Where do you need to go next?
What I love about that is because you talk about sometimes people pick things for us, and it feels right at the time. I mean, myself included, when I wanted to shift into speaking and coaching, I was getting paid to speak and then I wanted to switch into having my own thing in coaching. I was asked like, okay, well, what advice do people come to you for? And that was easy. People want to know how to get paid to speak. So it felt like the right fit, and it was for the time.
Yeah.
But then there comes a time where I'm kind of like, "Ugh, I'm just not feeling it. Like I'm not
Right.
inspired by it. I'm just, what do I want to be when I grow up? And it's at that point, I think, when
Yeah.
people need to have those conversations, do the passion test. What is it you want to do? Because for me, obviously, one story just kind of like popped in. I'm just like, oh, Oh, like that
Yeah,
felt,
that was a divine download for you.
it really was. And, but again, don't forget, like, you know, being told from other people, like, it's not the right time for this,
Right.
and
There's
like
a whole
having,
process around it, of
there's a
course.
whole process around it, and having someone to kind of help you walk through some of those
Yeah.
moments, I think is really important, and to figure out like, what is it you want to do when you grow up? You know, not
Right.
just what brings in the money, but what lights you up.
Yeah. And that is very similar to my story, and you can hear it in my Wen story as well, where I was coaching teens and young adults. When I first became a coach, I was like, okay, I'm a life coach, like every 100,000 other life coaches in the world, right? Because I'm like, I had tried it, I had done
Get it?
it.
Yeah.
I was good at it. I'm like, okay, well, let's see if I can make something of it. And working with the mentors and coaches and business, communities that I was in, I was told over and over, oh, you know what? You'd be really good with teenagers. I'm like, I would. Okay. And I sat with
Hmm.
it. And I'm like, okay, it feels like alignment. It feels like if they're seeing this in me, there might be there must be a reason. And I love teenagers. And I think they get the short end of the stick a lot of the time. And I will talk your ear off about that on another day. But for me, it became it just that like something didn't quite ever line up. It became a fight. And again, that's what I talk about in the Wen story. It became a fight trying to chase clients that weren't quite a right fit, trying to connect with teenagers in spaces I wasn't in, trying to learn what I didn't know that I didn't know. And it was a lot. And it was, again, very educational and foundational for what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
And again, it was something where it seemed right at the time. It felt like alignment. It felt like a sign. Oh, if other people are seeing it, well, then it must be good. And then it like kept almost making money and then not quite. So again, it was something was off in that alignment. And whereas now when I'm offering these multi-pillar services, I'm like, oh, I get to play. I get to be in these different ways of being in alignment with
Yeah.
myself because I'm not always the stage person.
Right.
I need my introvert time a little bit too, my recharging time, my like hole up in my room and read books time. And I need my one-on-one people time. I need my big group people time. So I like it serves who I am that I had to embrace. I had to let go of who I thought I should be in a business.
Yeah.
um, I had to do that work, and I get to help other people do that too. So yeah,
And
fun.
that brings us right around to your one story, which will play after this interview. So stay tuned
Mhm.
for Sarah's one story. But let's talk briefly about that, about the process with your one story, about getting up on stage and because for you specifically, there's something people don't get to experience that you've got to experience, which is being alongside the ride. For one story is the creation being on the stage, but then also telling the story and the difference for
Mm.
you. So take us on a little short journey of like what that was like for you.
Well, I've been in all three seats actually. The
Yeah.
watching the program, like watching the speakers speak their stories.
Mhm.
I've walked alongside the speakers behind the scenes. I've helped with the books, I've helped with the events, I've helped in
Mhm.
all the ways. And then in February, I stepped onto the stage to tell my story. And that I was not able to participate in the full gamut of the coaching, which we had our one-on-ones and that it was
Yeah.
fine. But like the work of writing the story was profound. There was digging deeper than I necessarily wanted to go,
Yeah.
in creating the story, in deciding which parts needed telling and which parts could be left out or saved for later, like the book or anything like that. So the creation of the story was its own work. The leading up to the event and the sharing it with the group was another layer of exposure and vulnerability.
Yeah.
I had a total breakdown before I went on stage. You saw it. I walked into that room and something just hit me. It was like a wave crashed over me and I flipped out. I like just felt something was just off kilter in my body, and I had been stressed. I had been pushing myself. I had been pushing down some of the emotions around the story, and just kind of white knuckling it until I could get off the stage after telling the story, but I didn't quite make it that long.
Right.
Because that's what we do. It's like, oh, I just have to get through this next thing. Oh, I just have to get through this next thing. I just have to get and I noticed, okay, there was the fight, right? The fight I talk
Yeah.
about. And it was there the whole time too, fighting to get there, fighting to, so the dropping the fight that I talk about in the when story is an ongoing process.
Of course. Of
It's an
course.
ongoing process. And that was something that really came to light in the experience of telling the story. I felt like, oh yeah, I'm just going to tell this story because I've made it this far in this health challenge, in this journey that paralleled a lot of what I was going through in my business. And I'm on the other side. It's all good. I can tell this story, no problem. But yeah, in the creating, in the leading up to the telling of it, the rehearsals, in the standing on the stage and speaking it, feeling my legs quiver on that
Hmm.
stage, which does not happen when I'm normally on stage. I love being on stage. Just
Yeah.
like noticing that, like what was happening in my body as I was just, okay, what part of the story comes next? Like, and I saw one of the other speakers in the cohort. I heard her voice in my head as I was standing on the stage saying, and then what happened?
Yeah.
Our beautiful Donna Smith Bellinger, like,
Yes.
Dr. Donna, and then what happened? So gently and beautifully. It's like, okay,
Yes.
and then what happened? And I got through it and it felt like I got through it. And it
Right.
and I got off stage and I stripped off my sweater. And I was so like, I immediately like just tried to like take it off so I
Hmm.
could put on what was comfortable, the emceeing, step back into what was comfortable. And then there was a lot of
Yeah.
processing after. So
Yeah.
that's something I think that I wasn't expecting as much was the processing of the experience after. There was a lot of what is that, like the shock waves after earthquake, right? The the
Yeah.
aftershocks.
And I feel like for you, it was almost like the perfect storm for you leading up, during, after, because it wasn't the typical scenario that we usually have speakers come through, right? They're not the MC for the event,
Mhm.
right? They're going through the coaching.
Yeah,
You have your own stuff going on in your life, so you couldn't be in the coaching all the time. White knuckling it up, thinking you get past the stage, but then like having the meltdown, right? But
right.
then also the other part of the storm is you got up on stage, you did the thing, you got off, but then like you had to change hats really quickly. And in hindsight, we sh- we should
We
have
probably
like
shouldn't have done
probably
that.
should have done that, right? Because I know like when I got off stage, I see it happen over and over. Like there's a
Yeah,
processing time after, right? I broke down in tears and was shaking after my one story.
right.
Even this past time, like I there was like a even a it wasn't as emotional this time on the stage, but like there's a process that women have to go
Yeah.
through. And so I think you had that perfect storm of all the different things that could have,
And there was a lot of pressure on me too, being part
yeah,
of the team, being part of HQ, being
yes,
your,
yep, all
DEO,
of it.
whatever I am, like the director of
Yeah,
publishing, being part of the organization.
yeah.
Like there was a pressure on me. Like I got to deliver this. Like I got to
See,
land this plane. I got to be what we
yeah,
want people to be on stage. And not that and that was not coming from you and it was not coming from anywhere else but in my own subconscious or conscious, I don't know. Like I recognized it that I was putting
yeah.
that pressure on myself. I didn't really know what to do with it.
And I felt that because
So,
even
yeah,
this
there
last
was a
one
lot there.
story, even this last one story, like I felt that pressure too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, one story has grown, and now people are going to see
Right.
me stepping on stage again and
Right.
expect
You're the
they're going to
person.
expect.
Hmm.
And so I think that's why I was, more nervous even this time than I was the
Right.
first
With the
time.
premiere. Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So fascinating. So let's ask this. We're going to wrap up here shortly. I lost my timer here. But so all in all, and again, we talked about the perfect storm and everything with your one story, and also you're living with your one story. You're not on
Yeah.
it's not like most people like have gone through abuse or different things. They're on the other side of it. You're on the other side
Hmm.
of the one story, but like,
Right. I'm on
you
the other
know,
side of the choice,
yeah,
right? The moment of
exactly.
choosing. And
Right.
I'm walking in that. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry,
So if
was there
you,
a question?
oh no, yeah, no, I was just going to
I
say,
cut you off.
no, no, that's fine. I think if you were to give somebody advice who's thinking about stepping on the one story stage, like how would you tell them, because you've been through all the different things, like
Yeah.
how would you tell them to really prepare themselves for what that's actually going to feel like?
I mean, in one of my former lives, I was a postpartum doula. Now, that's not somebody who helps with the birthing process, but after. I'd come in
Hmm.
the house after. I would sit with moms and I would help them like re-identify who they were and what their life was going to look like in
Yeah.
a sense. Um, while I did dishes or made them a sandwich, or pet their cat. But as I was marketing myself as this postpartum professional support, people didn't get it. Most of my clients were second, third, fourth, fifth time moms. Before you have a child, you have no idea what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that I'm bringing this up is because that's kind of like when stories is. You're going to listen to the story, you're going to hear the podcast, you're going to hear Wendy talk about the process and the coaching and the deep work that people do. But until you do the deep work of it yourself,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to go there. You have to be open to learning some hard things about yourself that you might not want to look at. You have to have support, whether
It's
it's
huge.
friends, family, therapist, the team that Wendy's put together, our sponsors. We have resources, use
Yeah.
them. Um, and just like the one thing to that I would say is have the conversation with Wendy. If it's not the right time or the right story or the right fit, she'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's got to be aligned because it is deep work and it is transformative and it is 100% worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. I just appreciate like because you're someone who is just you. You get out there and you're vulnerable when you need to be vulnerable, but you're tough when you need to be tough, you know? So, but thank you so much. So, up next is going to be Sarah's actual one story that she told on stage in Chicago in February of 2026. So, thank you again, Sarah.
Thanks so much, Wendy.
Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
When everything changed, I was standing in the shower on a Wednesday morning in January of 2024. I was lost in thought, letting the too warm water run down my back. I closed my eyes and brought my hand up to my neck, and I really considered the word cancer. It's such a small word, such a huge impact, and associated with universal and immediate imagery. A cancer patient. It's a picture that came immediately into my head, probably the same picture that comes into your head when you hear that C word too. Bald head, pale skin, thin limbs, weakness, loss, hopelessness. It wasn't a picture my doctor had painted. It was a picture I'd absorbed through stories I'd been surrounded by my whole life. I put myself inside it, and something wasn't right. I couldn't stomach it. 2 days before, my doctor had called me to tell me that my biopsy results indicated the presence of Hodgkin's lymphoma. That was not how I had expected to start out a new year that was supposed to be full of new projects and new levels of success in my life and my business. I thought I was one of the healthiest people I knew. I was a martial artist, an active mom of 3 sons, a business owner on the cusp of finally breaking even after 3 years of hustle as a coach. I made healthy choices. I ate my vegetables. I exercised. How could this happen to me? I was flooded with a range of emotions: fear, anger, embarrassment, sadness, and curiosity, anticipation, excitement. This diagnosis was a tough blow, and it brought opportunity with it. I knew that it was a chapter in my story, not the end of it, and I knew I was going to experience miracles at a level I had never seen before. And then I thought about having to tell my husband, and my mom and my dad that I had cancer. I thought about having to say the words, "Mom has cancer," to my boys, my babies. Yet it broke my heart. In the shower on Wednesday morning, after I broke the news to my husband, had a tearful exchange with my mother, and a long conversation with a nurse navigator, I couldn't stop thinking about cancer. That weak patient, that bleak environment, that faded, frail, washed out picture in my mind. The meaning I made, the story I told as that image swam in front of me was, I'm sick. My body is broken. Something has gone terribly wrong. And then I heard a voice. And it wasn't the same voice that usually narrates my thoughts in my head. It was different. And it said, "That's not your picture." My breath caught in my throat, and the picture changed. A woman stood on a stage, looking vibrant, healthy, energized, even glowing a little bit. And the people in the audience looked at each other and thought to themselves, and whispered, "No way does she have cancer." That voice spoke again with authority, said, "This is your picture." I finished my shower and went on with my day, my week, my life with a new level of peace I hadn't felt before. And to be clear, that second picture, that more colorful picture, was not a guarantee that things would be easy. It was not a promise of total and complete healing. That picture was an invitation to let go of the story I'd been telling, that I was broken and had done something wrong, and an invitation to choose something different. I knew that accepting that invitation would mean facing some hard truths, having some really difficult conversations, and showing up for myself in ways I never had before. And I was willing to give it a go. So I chose to release the conventional picture of a cancer patient and step into true healing for myself. It didn't take long for me to realize that healing was about way more than my body. Conventional pictures had been shaping my life and my work for a long time, too. Before cancer, my professional life never fit neatly into one box. And I did a lot of different things before becoming an entrepreneur, coaching teens and young adults. To grow my business, I hustled, I pushed, I tried to fit myself into that conventional picture of success at the expense of learning what true success looked like for me. And even my husband kept asking me to just get a job and help him support my family. And for a long time, I resisted. Getting a job felt like failure, and his begging felt like he did not support my dreams. I didn't want a job. I wanted a mission, a purpose, a legacy, something of my own. When cancer hit, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do with my health, with my business, with my kids, my family, with my whole life. All I knew was something needed to change. For so long, I had fought for clients who weren't the right fit. I fought to fit myself, follow the rules, fit myself into that neat little box in business. I had stepped onto stages as part of my business. In my experience, I had stepped onto stages speaking in front of women's conferences and entrepreneurial events, all as part of the hustle for coaching clients. Behind the scenes, I was trying to follow the rules. I was trying to fit myself into that picture of what success is supposed to look like at the expense of learning what it really meant for me. I tried to believe in myself while deep, like really, really deep down inside, the story I told was that I didn't deserve it. No wonder it kept not working. As I learned more and began to work with my body and move toward healing, I realized that I had been pushing myself and fighting for a long time. I'd been fighting everywhere. I'd been fighting for clients who weren't the right fit, fighting to prove that I could be successful in my business despite my husband's totally valid concerns. I was waging a war within myself over what it took to be successful, what I really wanted in my business. And there were two pictures that looked similar, but never quite lined up. I tried to follow the rules in my business. I tried to niche, to narrow, to make myself easy to digest, bite-sized, marketable, palatable, and easy to digest in 30-second elevator pitches. It was exhausting, and I was tired. I was tired of fighting. I was tired of hustling. Something had to give, or I was gone. I decided not to fight cancer. And it turned out that dropping the fight was good for my business, too. Let's talk about fighting. As someone with cancer, every time someone calls me a warrior, I cringe a little. I know they mean well, and I'm sure that this language helps some people. I find it really jarring. This is my body. My incredible, beautiful body. It's allowed me to do some awesome things like birth 3 strong and brilliant sons, earn my black belt in karate. My body has supported me my whole life. My body wants me to survive and thrive. My body is my picture of myself in the world. I love my body. My body's not a war zone. Healing and fighting can't happen at the same time. When the nervous system is in fight or flight mode, its only job is to get to safety. There can't be healing under that kind of stress. The body needs calm to integrate, process, grow, and yes, to heal. Turning me into a warrior kept me in a fight I never signed up for, a fight that honestly could have contributed to my body's breakdown in the first place. And I knew that staying in that fight would only lead to more collateral damage. And as I learned more and started to let that fight go, I realized that that war zone language, that fighting language we use in disease, has a lot of parallels with the language we use in business, too. As I was working with myself to try and figure out what to do with my health, I was also trying to figure out what to do with my coaching business. And I was in community with other business owners, and I continually heard this mantra that as entrepreneurs, you eat what you kill. I heard business gurus preaching that you have to be fierce, ruthless, and aggressive to grow. Cut through the noise, crush the competition, capture leads, make your why your battle cry. For years, I had been internalizing these messages, waging that war within myself for what it took to be successful, what I really wanted, those two pictures that never quite lined up, even though they looked similar. And I realized that your business doesn't need you to be fiercer. It needs you to be freer. When cancer entered the picture, I realized how much I had been fighting in all the areas my whole life. I'd been internalizing all of these messages to follow the rules, trust the experts, and do what I was told. And the thing about that is when I was told something and it didn't sit right in here, it became this dissonance in my body. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I felt the familiar pressure to comply and hand over my power, and instead of doing the thing that I used to do, the smiling, the nodding, the going along to get along, I stopped. I questioned. I asked questions. I changed hospitals. I changed oncologists. I showed up for myself and I spoke up, and I was determined to be heard and respected throughout the process, not only by my providers, but with my family and my friends too. When I told my therapist that I was diagnosed with cancer, it was not that long after she had gone through cancer herself. And she told me, very well-meaning, just show up to your appointments. Do what they tell you, you're gonna be fine. That threw me, because did you hear anything I said? I looked her straight in the face. I said, no, I won't be doing that. Not anymore. Around the same time, I decided to be honest with my professional network. I let them know what was going on in my health. I was in a mastermind with a group and a coach that I deeply respected. And as we were talking about what to do with my coaching business, I heard my coach asked me a very simple, a very direct question. He said, Sara, if you could do just one thing, coach parents about getting their kids into college, or emcee live events for women leaders and entrepreneurs, which would you choose? emcee. It flew out of my mouth. That word flew out of my mouth, and it hit me harder than I expected. Because I realized that becoming a coach for teens, young adults, and their families, that had been something other people had suggested I do. And it looked good on paper. It felt a lot like alignment at the time. But really, it was just another should I put on myself, mistaking it for fate. emceeing, that was mine. That was a thought that I'd had, an experience I had chosen. It lit me up. It scared me and thrilled me. And especially when I stepped onto a stage at a women's conference to MC, and it felt like that stage was made for me. And I realized, holy shit, I'm really, really good at this. And maybe you have something like that too. Something you're keeping on the side because it doesn't fit the plan, but something that scares you a little more than what you're actually doing because it's really what's yours. Letting go of my coaching identity, it hurt. I'd been building momentum. I'd invested years in it. I was attached to it. And when I had to release that, I realized that letting go and giving up are two very different things, even when they're wearing matching hats. Letting go of that coach identity felt like giving up, but it wasn't. Letting go of that coach identity, releasing that freed me up to step more fully onto stages, into speaking and emceeing. I wasn't giving up on being a coach. I was letting go of conventional pictures of success and business that didn't fit me. I was letting go of a business model that almost worked, but didn't. And when I started to move more into that energy of working with my body, working with my business, and started really dropping the fight, I stopped fighting my body, I stopped fighting my business, I stopped fighting myself, and I found more freedom because of it. I had a lot to learn. And it didn't happen all at once. And if I'm being honest, a lot of the times it felt easier to act compliant while fighting in the background, because it felt easier to act compliant than to try and explain myself and be misunderstood. It felt easier to follow someone else's footsteps than to chart my own course. It felt easier to cover up symptoms than to get to the root cause. But slowly and imperfectly, my life began to resemble that second picture I'd seen in the shower. With cancer, my body grew healthier. I got more comfortable in my body and finally felt like I was on the same page with it. And I let go of what wasn't working in my business, the coaching, the hustle, the struggle, the stress. With cancer, I continued to build my emceeing and my speaking business, taking stages at women's events, entrepreneurial events, and leadership conferences, making the choice to focus on elevating and amplifying that experience for audiences instead of chasing opportunities that only looked good on paper. I even won the 2024 Speaker of the Year award from the small business owners community that year. And with cancer, I wrote and published a book about event emceeing. And a few months later, I started my second book, Business Interrupted, Keeping the Dream Alive When Life Hits the Fan. With cancer, I focused on impact, passion, purpose, and legacy. This is not a story about cancer. I kept the details vague on purpose because you need to make your own choices if you're ever faced with things like that. You have to follow your own path. You get to decide what picture you want your life to reveal. This is a story about what finally happened when I stopped fighting, and the fighting finally stopped long enough for the dust to settle and my picture to become clear. Who I am now is not because of cancer. It's because I chose agency over antagonism. And you can too. Now I'm not building my business to prove anything. I'm not trying to be bite-sized. I'm a full buffet. I am honoring how I'm wired, and I'm not wired to stay neatly into a box. I'm showing up as my full, real self, and I'm finding more success now because of it. Now I help women, leaders, entrepreneurs see the picture they're living in and decide if it's actually the one they would choose. I do this through event management and emceeing, through speaking and workshops and training. I do it through writing and publishing and more. I'm a buffet, remember? Because when you stop fighting and start choosing, everything changes. And as I stand here on this stage, looking vibrant, healthy, energized, even glowing a little, you might be thinking to yourself, there's no way she has cancer. I do. And it's only part of the story. This is my picture, and it's still evolving. I know that life is gonna hit the fan for all of us at some point. And when it hits the fan for you, you have a choice, like I did. But before you dig in your heels and fight harder, I want to invite you to ask yourself, what picture are you living in? And be honest. Is it really your choice? Thank you.
Your story matters.